Hello YouTubers, this is Cessnaace. This is a Megafinds video. Included in this video are some items that I've picked up recently and also some items that I have picked up fairly recently that I have neglected to show. Now, my wife and I regularly go to Dave & Buster's, which is a really great arcade and restaurant. They even have pool tables and everything. Anyway, we kept that a secret from our daughters for the longest time. We would have that as our date place, my wife and I. But finally we broke down and lit a bin on it, and so now they want to go all the time. Anyway, some of the items that I've picked up for redemption, I play a lot of the redemption games. Puzzle Quest 2. I love the original Puzzle Quest, which was a combination of a puzzle game and an RPG. So I look forward to playing this. My wife, by the way, has some unearthly, amazingly high amount of earned redemption points, something like 48,000. I don't know what she's saving for, but she's saving for a video game system, I think. And at one time she was planning on getting a Wii, but we got a Wii, so no, I don't know what she's planning on. Okay. Ultimate Alliance 2 for the DS. And I also picked up a Wii game. I don't recall the name of it, and I don't know where it is. My daughters tend to break into my Wii games. Thankfully, they haven't decided to try Mad World yet. For those of you unfamiliar with Sega's Mad World, it is one of the most graphic, goriest video games you've ever seen. And it's kind of interesting that it came out on a Nintendo console and that it came from Sega. Anyway, I also picked up some die-cast vehicles over the last several weeks at Dave & Buster's. This is a 1965 Shelby Cobra 427. Yes, I collect die-cast models, in addition to plastic model kits and Viewmaster reels, a whole lot of things actually that I collect that I haven't shown. I don't remember if I've actually shown my large 16mm film collection, which is made up primarily of Tom and Jerry cartoons. Unfortunately, a co-worker of mine a couple of years ago, back before I retired, he expressed an interest in my Filmation-produced Tom and Jerry's because his daughter loved the Filmation Tom and Jerry's. At the time, I didn't care for them, so I gave them all to him. And now, of course, I wish I had them because the Filmation Tom and Jerry's, try finding those anywhere. Okay, next up we have a 1969 Dodge Charger. And I would love someday to find a die-cast model of a 67 or 68 Ford Thunderbird, blue with a white vinyl top. I think it was called the Presidential Edition. Anyway, we had one when I was a kid, and I love that car. And I kept trying to get my dad to promise that I would get it when I got old enough to drive. By the time I got old enough to drive, he had already sold it to my aunt and uncle. It was one of the cars actually that I learned how to drive on. The other one being a Volkswagen Bug, standard transmission. Anyway, I also went to the dollar store. Now, I have a huge selection of, or collection of these DVDs in these slim cases, most of which came from Digiview, although, well, I have several hundred from Digiview. But East West Entertainment also released them in these cases, as did Allegro. I have the complete set of these. Which they tend to show up just before Halloween. I didn't pick this up recently, but the reason I show it is because I picked up a number of DVDs from Allegro at the dollar store. $1 each, obviously. These are licensed titles, but they're in cheaper sleeves. Wild Kingdom Primates. This is licensed from BBC Motion Gallery. And I picked up the complete set of 6, but I've momentarily misplaced 2 of them. Wild Kingdom African Wildlife. They're each the disc is the same color as the sleeve. Wild Kingdom The Cats. And Wild Kingdom Polar Wildlife. As I said, I bought all 6 of them. There were 2 of them they only had 1 copy each of, so I was rather glad that I picked them up. The 2 that I have momentarily misplaced are Wild Kingdom Bears and Wild Kingdom Wolves and Their Kin. Okay, I also picked up another DVD from the dollar store in these same slim cases. This is from a company I'd never heard of before, Broadpoint Entertainment. It's a Jackie Chan movie, an early Jackie Chan movie, Fearless Hyena. And I have quite a few DVDs to yet show you, but before I get to those, sticking with the dollar store momentarily. This is a cool book. Armed Gunmen, True Facts, and Other Ridiculous Nonsense, a compiled compendium of repetitive redundancies. For example, completely finished. The definition of completely finished is what follows almost totally done. Close relatives. Completely abolish, completely annihilate, completely certain, completely consistent, completely demolish, completely destroy, completely devoid, completely eliminate, completely empty, completely equal, completely eradicate, completely full. You get the idea. And definition for the end, or final end rather, final end. The final, no kidding end that comes at the conclusion of all previous ends. Close relatives, farewell, swan song, final or ultimate climax, completion, conclusion, end, farewell, outcome, upshot, last farewell, so forth. This is a compilation of letters written by Mary Wortley Montague, whatever. She is widely considered to be the best writer of letters that the English language has ever known. This is a compilation of her letters, both private and those meant for public consumption. Anyway, there's that, and something that struck my fancy, and I thought I'd pick it up. The Making of Victorian Values, Decency, and Dissent in Britain, 1789 to 1837. Again, just $1. And there are some photos in here. One I'll show you here. Using his hat to cover the naughty bits. Okay. Also picked up some Pez dispensers while we were there. This is Thomas Tank Engine. A large collection of Pez dispensers, and somewhere on my channel is a video I did showing my collection as it stood at that point from the Marvel Universe. And from Pirates of the Caribbean. And it's gluten-free. Stay. Okay. My wife picked me up the latest Hess truck. I collect them. One of these days I'm going to have to show my collection of Hess trucks. Sometimes the payload the truck is carrying makes sense, and sometimes it doesn't. How often do you see a gasoline company truck heading down the highway with a fighter jet on the back? I don't think they deliver gasoline via fighter. May be wrong, but I don't think so. Okay, I also picked up received a number of packages the day. Before I get to those, though, I went to the grocery store today and picked up the latest issue of Electronic Gaming Monthly. And the 2010 Ultimate Buyer's Guide from GamePro. And a number of DVDs, all of which were previously enjoyed. For the Devil Knows You're Dead. Curse of the Golden Flower. This is, of course, in widescreen, enhanced for 16:9. The remake of Mel Brooks' classic, The Producers. This was actually produced by Mel Brooks' company, Brooks Films, and he was, well, he wrote the songs, of course, and he also co-produced and co-wrote the screenplay. Anyway, I'm not quite sure if this is a British film or a French film. The language options are both English and French. However, the best options are for the English soundtrack. There's a 5.1 Dolby Digital Surround soundtrack, and there's a 5.1 DTS Surround soundtrack in English, both of those in English, and then a 2.0 Dolby Surround French soundtrack. Now, the other thing that has me thinking, well, this might have been a co-production is seems to have been co-financed by Studio Canal and UK Film Council. Underneath it says, you couldn't see this with my camera, I could barely see with my eyes. Underneath UK Film Council it says lottery funded. So I guess the British support their film industry via revenue from lottery tickets. Anyway, it's called Vera Drake. And there is the synopsis on the back in English and again in French. And this is, I believe, the first film that Woody Allen made once he began being financed by the Spanish film industry or government film board, whatever. This is a highly acclaimed film, Vicky Cristina Barcelona. And being that I live in the South, it's hard to find Woody Allen films. So when I come across one, I snap it up. Okay, before I get to the packages, the other day I showed some LaserDiscs that I picked up at the flea market. Well, a box set of LaserDiscs. But I neglected the rest of the LaserDiscs that I had set aside that I had also picked up at the same time. For example, this is in widescreen, The Endless Summer 2. And I gather it's a sports movie of some kind. But he sold it to me for well, he has his DVDs marked, LaserDisc marked at $10, and $5. And he typically sells them to me for $3. However, I didn't have enough money to get all the ones I wanted, so I said, how about I pay $2.72 for one of them, because that would have cleaned me out. And he said, forget about the 72 part. So I'm going to say this one cost me $2. Doesn't really matter which one cost me $2. The rest cost me $3. This one still has its cellophane wrap on it, and I already have a copy of this on LaserDisc. It's the Steven Seagal movie, Marked for Death. And you'll notice that it is also marked for $39.98. That's how much it sold for back in the day. Now, this is one of the LaserDiscs that was manufactured at multiple sites. I went to the LaserDisc database and discovered that. So I have to look up and see who manufactured the other copy that I have. This copy was manufactured by Technodisc, and Technodisc had a reputation deserved of having spotty quality control. Some of their LaserDiscs look excellent, and some don't. But the really neat thing about most of the Technodisc discs is that they identify themselves in the dark silver band. This is side B. Fox Video, Marked for Death, side B. Okay, so it's on the other side. It says the same thing. The catalog number. I would say something and then I'm not finding it, but I did see it earlier. It said made by Technodisc. I am either holding it up the light wrong or I've momentarily lost part of my vision. There's the catalog number. I don't know. Anyway, I have to check my other copy to see if I in fact do have two of the same release, the same printing. I might have two copies of the same run, and I might have two separate runs from two different facilities. Anyway, next up we have Gene Hackman and Mary Elizabeth Antonio, Class Action. $3. Melody Griffith, Matthew Modine, and Michael Keaton, Pacific Heights. And get back to the magazine volume. In widescreen, Tilda Swinton and Billy Zane in Orlando. Now, he had bought some LaserDiscs from a guy that had stored them in a non-climate controlled environment, which is a bad idea. especially if you stack them or even if you have them stored vertically but tightly packed. What will wind up happening with the differences in temperature, the discs will either sweat or form condensation of some sort on the jacket, and then as that dries, the jackets become glued together, and then when you tear them apart, you're tearing apart the jacket and peeling off the artwork. And I told him I have a mental condition. I'm not allowed, my brain doesn't allow me to buy any LaserDiscs that are like that. Okay, before I get to this very special package, another auction one on eBay. This is from DigiView, Mesmerized, based on a true story. Don't know if you can make out the hangman's noose there and the body in black there. Now, in the past I've mentioned magnetic video. Magnetic video is the very first home video label in the world. It was started by a guy by the name of Andre Blay. Actually, he had founded the company in 1968 as a company that duplicated professional videotape. We're talking about the big reels of 2-inch quadruplex tape, 2 inches wide. But in 1977, he approached Fox, and Fox agreed to license him 50 of their titles to release on VHS and Betamax. And if I remember correctly, he paid Fox $500,000 up front and $800,000 per year. And at the time, Fox really needed that money. Big success. So the next year, Magnetic Video moved over to the UK. Well, there was a UK branch, Magnetic Video UK, and immediately following that, Magnetic Video Australia. And of course, everyone who saw how much money Magnetic Video was making jumped on the bandwagon, and the rest is history. This is not one of the original 50 titles that Magnetic Video released. This was released in 1978. So the second year that Magnetic Video is in existence, and this is still sealed. Just to give you some idea, even though the Betamax format came out in 1975, invented by Sony, JVC's format, VHS, didn't hit the market until late 77. And as I said, he came out with 50 titles initially, all licensed from Fox. Released each one in beta and VHS. Beta was by far, at that time, the predominant format, but VHS wound up winning the format wars. One of these days I'm going to have to show my magnetic video collection. One of the cool magnetic video titles that I have is The Making of Star Wars, which came out the same year as the movie. Pretty cool. And of course, by 1979, Magnetic Video was such a big company and was, in fact, the largest home video label in the world, even though by then there were home video companies spreading up all over the place. Magnetic Video was so big, and Fox wanted the video rights back to the movies they had licensed to Fox. Fox doesn't license movie Fox. To Magnetic Video, that they bought Magnetic Video. And they kept the format around, the name around for a year, and then they They briefly went to 20th Century Fox Home Video, but then they merged it with another venture of theirs called CBS Enterprises, and that merged company was CBS Fox Home Video. And some of the magnetic video tapes that I have, the late releases, they're in a magnetic video box. They have a magnetic video transfer. The tape starts with the magnetic video logo, but the label on the cassette is a CBS Fox label, and the catalog number on the spine is a CBS Fox catalog number. This is a magnetic video catalog number. And yes, this video is probably wound up going to be about 4 hours long, so I better stop. A lot more packages coming, including 24, I'll take that back, 26 Hong Kong films on DVD. I've also ordered a number of VCDs. I hear the phone ringing, so I gotta go. Until next time, stay awesome.